Shalawam Israel. I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, the Buanas to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, and Shalawam to elect out there doing this work of faith and labor of love with true sincerity. Right, I want to get into a lesson actually had set up, but I also got inspired by seeing Apostle Kabar's lesson that he did, and he mentioned the elder brother from LA, and how he mentioned the word doctor and how it means to falsify. So I, decided to add this into the mixture as well, because it go hand in hand with this topic that I wanted to do. Pretty much this topic will be entitled Newspeak to Doctor in Allopathy, or something to that effect. Lord willing, this would be a rather informative lesson for brothers, getting into words, as we are taught, the etymology of words as we are taught from our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, to get the clear meaning and understanding, through the midst of all Esau's bull they try to put out there for the people, to confuse them and, to get them think otherwise from the truth, So, starting off, I want to get into this definition of newspeak. All right. So it says newspeak, propagandistic language marked by euphemism, circumlocution, and the inversion of customary meanings. Now, sometimes with these definitions, you need to go into more definitions itself. But, propaganda is usually used for, political reasons and stuff like that. So propagandistic language marked by, we're going to look up each one of these words: euphemism, a mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. So they try to use other words, basically that don't seem harsh, to try to dumb it down, so to speak, because it's too raw for the people. We speak with the word, we come out raw, because the scriptures are rough, rugged, and raw, plain to the point. There is no in between with the scriptures. Is yay or no. You're either going to be soft or you're going to be forward with it. It's no in between. And this is where Esau, they get things because they try to play that in between role, to confuse the people. Circumlocution, it says the use of many words where fewer would do, especially in a deliberate attempt to be vague or evasive. So this is all a part of Esau's game plan, man. They make a deliberate attempt to be vague or evasive, so that people can't get a full understanding of what they mean. That way you have a double or an ambiguous meaning for different things that can go either way. And they play on that, man. That's why he's the devil, because he speaks with a forked tongue. Okay? So looking up the word inversion, the action of inverting something or the state of being inverted. This is the point right here. Reversal of the normal order of words, typically for rhetorical effect, but also found in the regular formation of questions in English. Okay, so they're purposely trying to reverse the normal order of words, and that's what they do. That's what this term newspeak is all about, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that. So we get the understanding from this definition here, that it's all about being invasive, reversing the normal order or the normal meaning of words, and it's just a play on words. That's all. They just try to put it out there to be confusing. That's why when you reading like the different laws and statutes and things that they have so many big words that you have to constantly get into and break down the meaning of those words. And they deliberately do this on purpose so that the lay people or the everyday man can't get a full understanding or won't want to read it. And they do these things purposely, So here we go. This says Newspeak comes from 1984. The term Newspeak was coined by George Orwell in his 1949 anti-utopian novel, 1984. That's a real popular book. And even to this day, in Orwell's fictional totalitarian state, Newspeak was a language favored by the minions of Big Brother. So this is a language that is used by the so-called authoritative figures of the society. Okay, Esau. And in Orwell's words, designed to diminish the range of thought. Okay, designed to diminish the range of thought. Basically, when you have a certain thought process about something, they come in with these words to try to change your way of thought and to direct it into one way, but they purposely, as we was getting into with the definition, they purposely do this so that they have those double or ambiguous meanings, but trying to lead you to one way in how they want you to think. That's why they have the TV programming, the shows, the radio programming, all these different things to direct your thought processes to one avenue. And people get hooked, line and sinker, Newspeak was characterized by the elimination or alteration of certain words. And we're going to get into that by seeing the terms doctor and allopathy, okay? So Newspeak was characterized by the elimination or alteration of certain words, the substitution of one word for another, the interchangeability of parts of speech, and the creation of words for political purposes. So it's all for their own gain. And this is what we know that Esau is about. Esau is all for his own gain, and for their own turn, for political purposes, man, to dumb down the people. The word was caught on in general, used to refer to confusing or deceptive bureaucratic jargon. So, as I said, it's completely confusing and deceptive. We all know what deceptive means, basically to deceive, okay? So real quick, I want to get into the book of Job. This is Job chapter 15, verse 5. For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, okay? And thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. And this is what Esau do. They choose the tongue of the crafty because they are the crafty. They are the devil that the Bible speaks of, okay? Thine own mouth condemneth thee. Because when we come out with the truth, it condemns the so-called white man. That's why he wants to do everything within his power to put this truth down, man. To put us down from coming out with their lies, with their hypocrisy, and with everything they've done. And we do this through glorifying and bringing out the word of YAHAWASHI. Okay? The most powerful tool that we have upon this earth, and the only tool that is going to be used to take down Esau within these last days. It's taking them down now as we speak. Okay? Thine own mouth condemneth thee. And what the scriptures say, by thy words that shall be justified, and by thy words that shall be condemned. And when you catch Esau in lies, what they do? They run from it. Like if brothers watch the documentary, Slacky, what's the name of that documentary? That's making everybody go vegan. I can't think of it. Brothers should know what I'm talking about. In that documentary, when the one guy, he having a meeting with another Edomite from one of these big companies. The guy's sitting there talking with him, nice, plainly. He's not being argumentative. He just asking him basic questions. And when he knows, the other guy knows that he's going to be put out there, he starts running. He said he don't want to do the interview no more. Okay, because he know that the jargon and the speech and the things in which his company represents, it actually condemns them. Okay, because they're going against their own words by putting out false information out there, okay? Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. So it's not us that literally condemns them. We do in a matter, but they condemn themselves. And that's just like with the 2/3 out there. They condemn themselves by the way that they live. And when people proclaim that, oh, I know the Bible, I live by the Bible, this, that, and the third. Your own words condemn you because you're not following, what the scriptures say, okay? Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. So this is exactly how it is with this term Newspeak. Their own lips testify against them. All right. So now I want to get into doctor, just how they said, right? It's the term doctor. Now this is the everyday version, the Newspeak version of the definition of doctor. It says, An eminent theologian declared a sound, okay, that's some crap. It says a learned or authoritative teacher, a person who has earned one of the highest academic degrees, such as a PhD conferred by a university. Most of the colleges, faculty members, are doctors in the field. A person skilled or specializing in healing arts, especially one such as a physician, dentist, veterinarian who holds an advanced degree and is licensed to practice. See, a person who restores, repairs, or fine-tunes things. So this is the everyday version of the word doctor. This is the Newspeak version, okay? The deceptive meaning, all right, of the word a doctor. And they mainly hover around, one having the highest academic degrees by the colleges or the universities, a learned or authoritative teacher, that's taught within the society. They're doctored, okay? And what does the book of Job say about this? It says, Job 32 and 21, let me not, I pray you, accept any man's persons, neither let me give flattering titles unto men. So we're not supposed to have a certain type of respect of persons just because someone has a degree, because their degrees doesn't mean anything. You have us men out there, on the highways and byways who are unlearned that know more than the people that are learned of this society, man. So what does those degrees really mean? It's nothing more than what? A flattering title, man. A flattering title. It sounds good to have a PhD, to have a bachelor's, to have a associate's. It just sounds good, but it doesn't mean anything. For I know not to give flattering titles, in so doing, my maker would soon take me away. So it's nothing more than a flattering title. Now let's get into the actual definition of doctor, how the brother had brought out. Doctor, verb, 1590s, to confer a degree on, from doctor, meaning to treat medically, is from 1712, sense of alter, disguise, falsify, is from 1774. Doctored, doctoring. Okay, so this is what the definition is all about altering, disguising, and falsifying. Now this ties directly into getting into the definition of allopathy, because this is what allopathy is all about. It's about altering, disguising, and falsifying information to allow the people to believe one thing over another. Okay, and I'll bring out another scripture real quick, because they lead you to believe in allopathic medicine that they're actually helping you when they're not. There's two forms of ways that you can go about things when you have an ailment or you have a so-called disease. Either you can treat it or you can heal it. Okay, now you have the natural approach with the herbs and the medicines of the earth that YAHAWASHI gave us, or you have the chemicals that Esau has made to try to mimic the ways of the Most High. Okay, bring out another scripture, pretty much laying backing off the other scripture I brought out. This is the book of Psalm 64 and 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, and all that see them shall flee away. All right. And one more scripture that made me, I just thought of. This is Psalms 58 and 2. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of the earth in your hands. And they do this by what? Way of this allopathic medicine, in which we're going to get into when we read this definition. All right. So first, I'm going to read the regular definition of allopathy. Okay. And it says, allopathy, noun, the orthodox medical method of treating disease. Remember now, treating. Now let's look up the word treating real quick. Treating is the act of serving. Oh, they give it a different that's not to, okay, to treat. They they don't give it in the medical term. So I'll just continue on. The orthodox medical method of treating disease by inducing a condition different from or opposed to the cause of disease, compare homeopathy. Word origin and history for allopathy. Treatment of disease by remedies that produce effects opposite to the symptoms. Now this is getting into the actual definition of allopathy, but let me just try to find another Newspeak definition of what they say. Yeah, okay. Allopathy, the treatment of disease by conventional means, i.e. with the drugs having opposite effects to the symptoms. Now, these opposite effects to the symptoms by what a treatment-based method, all it does, as we know, is to what? Suppress. Okay, that's all allopathic medicine, these drugs, you know, these pharmaceuticals, this witchcraft that Esau whips up, it just suppresses the symptoms. That's all it does. So when they say they treat the underlying cause, meaning they actually suppress the underlying cause of what's going on within the body. That's what they actually mean by that. But when our people hear the word treat, you know, a treatment, they actually think they're getting cured when treatment doesn't mean anything. And that goes into that ambiguous double meaning, that Newspeak meaning, and that confusion of words of how they try to get into. Okay. So going back to this definition, it says treatment of disease by remedies that produce effects opposite to the symptoms. From German allopathy, Hahnemann, well, this is who came up with this word, all right, from Greek allos, other, okay, pathia, suffering, disease, feeling, the term applied by homeopathists to traditional medicine, all right. So literally the term allopathy means other, or opposite suffering, opposite disease, opposite feeling. So you're supposed to have an opposite feeling or opposite suffering of what you have. Okay, now when you get into the actual ways of how Esau deals with things, when you treat one thing and when you see the commercials, what do they usually say? It's going to help with this, but it's going to give you headaches, dizziness, so on and so forth. They tell you about all the other side effects that may come with that, but we know with the ways of YAHAWASHI and dealing with the natural medicine, okay, the medicine of the earth, you know, you don't have those problems. You will have actual side benefits. So if you take a herb, for instance, like dandelion is a hepatic specific herb, which is hepatic means pertaining to the liver. So it's a liver specific herb, but it also is great for the kidneys, great to cleanse the blood, so on and so forth. Many other side benefits as opposed to Esau's medicine, which cause other effects or other side effects or other diseases eventually down the line by destroying the mucous membrane within the body and opening your body up to exposing it to get more disease or to inherit more problems. Okay, so this is the book of Ezekiel 47:12, and I'm just getting into this on a so like on an herbal aspect, and it says, and by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to its months, because their waters they issued out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So everything that we have, you know, is what healing to the body. And the Lord said, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So the fruit, that's supposed to be the main portions of our food on the daily. You know, because why? Because the fruits are one of the most highest vibrational foods that are out there, because it's cleansing, it's nourishing, it gives you energy, and it's a nerve regenerative, you know. And what the leaves, what the herbs for the medicine, because we know that we needed the herbs to heal, you know, after Adam, after Adam and Eve sinned and went off. So now we needed the herbs, you know, to actually use them as healing modalities, as opposed to just being food, just to completely nourish our bodies. Okay, but they all give what side benefits. So like I said, when you having a fruit that has the highest bioavailability, it's easily digestible upon the system. You know, it's cleansing, nourishing, it gives you energy, and it's a nerve regenerative. You know, so those are all the side benefits of that, and we know the different side benefits when you get into the herbs and things like that. All right, so now going into this document here. All right, misuse of the term allopathy by William T. Jarvis, PhD. All right, another guy with a flattering title, but this is pretty informative short document here, which I'm going to get into real briefly. All right. So it says the term allopathy was invented by German physician Samuel Hahnemann, 1755 to 1843. He conjoined allos, meaning opposite, and pathos, which means suffering. Okay, so opposite suffering. All right, that's what it literally is supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean opposite suffering. All right, but Esau, like I said, with the Newspeak, Esau knows that, you know, the origins of this definition, but the opposite suffering that their medicine actually gives you is literally another suffering, man. They treat you with one thing to suppress those symptoms, but they bring upon another symptom in its entirety. And now, you know, after you needed one medicine, now 4 months down the line, they're trying to give you another 3 or 4 other medicines. And I know specifically because this happened to somebody in my family, and they told me about this recently. You know, they went in for high blood pressure. Now they've been on this high blood pressure medicine for approximately like 3 or 4 months. Now the doctor's trying to prescribe them 3 or 4 other medicines, you know? So this is what Esau does, man. They get you hooked on their chemicals, man. They get you hooked on their drugs, and then people don't come off of them, man. And they're making the millions of dollars while you're not seeing any benefit. And then now down the line, you're gonna be spending more money. And I've seen personally, being up in you know, like the Rite Aids and the stuff like that, you know, them pharmaceutical places, those Edomites, they will go in there and they will spend $1,000 to $2,000 cash for 1 or 2 bottles of medicine, man. You know, but they have it like that, and they do this every single month. So Esau's constantly raking in the dough while they're destroying people's bodies, literally, man. You know, so it says he conjoined allos, opposite, and pathos, suffering, as a referent to harsh medical practices of his era, which included bleeding, purging, vomiting, and the administration of highly toxic drugs. So when he came up with this word, it was referring to the harsh drugs of his era that what included bleeding, purging, vomiting, and administration of highly toxic drugs. So aren't Esau's drugs highly toxic? When you're using chemo or stuff or medicines after chemo, aren't they highly toxic? Okay, when you get into all these different synthetic medicines, aren't they toxic? They're toxic to the blood, they're toxic to the lymphatic system. Okay, they may claim that they treat one thing, but when you're taking these pharmaceuticals, they're leaching calcium out of your bones. And now you eventually become calcium deficient, and your bones will start getting brittle, so on and so forth. Certain of the herbs they tell you may cause vomiting, may cause some bleeding, you know. So they use this term in modern day allopathy, knowing the definition of how it used to be back then and the things that it would cause, you know. But they change up the term of allopathy into some treatment-based system, which actually this is what it's all about, you know. It says these practices were based on the ancient Greek humoral theory, which attributed disease to an imbalance of 4 humors: blood, phlegm, black, and yellow bowel. And this all goes into dealing with the liver, all right? And the 4 bodily conditions: hot, cold, wet, and dry, that corresponded to 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So this is some theory that, you know, the so-called physicians at this time came up with, all right? And what does the Apocrypha tell us about this, all right? I want to go to, This is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. All right. Now look at that one more time. It said back in its definition, it said what the four humors, the four bodily conditions, and the four elements. So they're dependent on nature and whatever gods that they believed in at the time. You know, and the Book of Wisdom of Solomon says what? It's Wisdom of Solomon 13:1. Surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of the Most High, and cannot out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world. So this is what they were going by. So getting into the four humors and stuff like that, you know, how they did back in those times, that all pertain to the liver, pertain to the bodily conditions, and they went off the elements of the air, you know, the elements of the earth, air, fire, and water. So they're giving it up to the elements instead of giving it up to the Lord. Okay, and this is how people think to this day, where they get into the, you know, the zodiac, the fire sign, and this sign, and this is that and the third. They're giving it all up, you know, not to the one who created these things, but they're giving it up to the elements themselves, worshiping. Well, this isn't the creed. These are elements more than the creator who created these different elements. You know, says physicians following the Hippocratic tradition attempted to balance the humors by treating symptoms with opposites. Okay, this is how they did it, by treating symptoms with opposites. For instance, fever hot was believed due to excess blood because patients were flush. Therefore, balance was sought by bloodletting in order to cool the patients. Now, to some degree, opposites do work, but not based upon the theory, you know, that they use in all of this that corresponds with it, the blood, the phlegm, the yellow, black bowel, and all of that. Like, for instance, if you have a dry cough, you know, you want to take a herb that's more lipid based, that will create, you know, a so-called wet effect to a degree, like Irish moss. Irish moss will help you to produce that more of that mucus and to help to get that up out of there, you know. And if you have a moist cough, you know, you don't have to use no dry herb, because you have herbs that are dry and hot and different stuff like that to a degree, you know. But you won't use the opposite if you have a moist cough, because if your cough is already moist, the body is doing what it needs to do. It's spitting it out, you know. But if you do have a dry cough, you need a so-called moist herb like Irish moss to loosen it on up, you know, loosen up the bronchioles and the lungs and everything, so that you can get it up out of your body. So it's true on certain aspects, but not in its entirety, you know. So where was I again? With this definition, Shalaki, I lost my place. Okay, yeah. I'll read this again. So it says, for instance, fever hot was believed due to excess blood because patients were flush. Therefore, balance was sought by bloodletting in order to cool the patient. Hahnemann sought to replace allopathy with his law of similia that treated like with like, a pre-scientific idea that he had discovered from reading ancient sources. Hahnemann had abandoned medical practice because of his inability to heal his patients by the methods of his era. He earned money by translating classical works into German, leading him to ancient medical ideas. Okay, so pretty much just getting into this, none of these people at this time could properly heal any type of diseases or ailments or things like that. But you had, you know, the greats of time, hypocrisies, who, you know, in modern day times, they try to so-called model themselves after what Hippocrates' theories or the Hippocratic oath, but not actually following it, you know. So that's all a bull. So, you know, just pretty much getting into this, You know what allopathy means? What opposite suffering? You know, and this goes to the time frame of the 17 and the 1800s when they try to use these harsh methods, that would cause major problems. And that's the same thing they do in today's times. They use all of these harsh medicines which cause opposite suffering. Not in the initial, meaning, but in the way in which it's harmful unto the body. You know, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do, man. And we constantly see this throughout the time, and that's why Esau is constantly being exposed for being the devil that he is. Because they are truly bring another type of suffering unto the body, which at times what includes bleeding, purging, vomiting, by what? The administration of highly toxic drugs. Everything that they do is toxic, And when you look at Esau's medicines, 50% of his medicines stem from a chemical based thing off of herbs. They would isolate a certain chemical that's within the herb, and then they would synthesize it in their laboratories and conjoin it with other chemicals, which creates imbalance within the body. And Lord willing, that'd be another topic that I could get into as far as getting into isolating a chemistry of the body, how the Most High set up all the herbs to have, the natural state in them, how they should be, how everything is proportionally based, how the Most High made it. But getting into what Esau does and isolating, chemistry that causes those imbalances within the body, So I just wanted to bring this term out. So basically, the term allopathy means opposite suffering, and that's what Esau does. They bring upon opposite suffering, unto the body by using their chemicals, their drugs, and the word doctor meaning to falsify. So everything about this whole modern day medical system is crap, man, and people depend on it instead of depending on YAHAWASHI. Now you have places, where you may need a doctor, in certain emergency methods, but ultimately, man, we lean upon the spirit of YAHAWASHI, So, I just hope this lesson was edifying and informative, for brothers out there. And I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashim Yahawashi, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalawam to the elect out there doing his work of faith and labor with love, truth, sincerity. Shalawam.